Ethan looked calm all day, the kind of person who solved problems, quietly replied politely, and kept moving even when something bothered him. But the truth was that he didn't deal with stress in the daylight, he stored it, and every night his mind came to collect. The moment the lights went off, the room turned silent, and his head touched the pillow. His thoughts began to speak like a courtroom full of voices, each one demanding an answer right now. Why did you say that? What if they misunderstood you? What if you're falling behind? What if tomorrow goes wrong? And the worse it got, the harder Ethan tried to force sleep, which only taught his brain one lesson. Night is dangerous, stay alert. This I sent you a story about being weak or undisciplined because Ethan tried discipline, he tried going to bed early, he tried tiring himself out with work. He tried scrolling until his eyes burned, he tried breathing exercises and motivational videos and positive thinking. But the problem wasn't a lack of effort, the problem was that he treated every thought like an emergency. At night, a single worry doesn't stay small, it multiplies, it grows teeth, it becomes a full plan for how your life could collapse. And when you argue with it, you accidentally do the one thing it wants most, you give it your attention. It started with something stupidly small. Earlier that day, Ethan sent a message too quickly. The tone felt slightly wrong, not rude, just not perfect, and the other person replied with a simple, "Okay." Most people would move on, but Ethan's mind didn't hear, "Okay," it heard, "They're upset. You messed up. This will come back later." And even though nothing happened, the thought stayed in the background like a buzzing light. By the time he brushed his teeth and turned off the lamp, the buzzing had become a swarm. He lay down and felt his chest tighten, not because something terrible was happening, but because his mind was preparing him for danger that didn't exist. He tried counting breaths, but his thoughts talked over the numbers. He tried imagining a peaceful place, but his mind followed him there too, dragging tomorrow's worries onto the beach, into the forest, onto the quiet lake, until even calm images became another stage for anxiety. After 20 minutes that felt like an hour, Ethan sat up in bed and whispered stop, not to anyone in the room, but to the invisible noise inside his skull. And in that moment, he realized something that hurt to admit. He wasn't trying to sleep, he was trying to solve his entire life in the dark. He was using nighttime like an emergency room for thoughts, and every time he did that, he trained his brain to dump everything on him when he was weakest. Then his phone vibrated on the bedside table. A notification from a friend, nothing urgent, just a late-night meme, but Ethan's tired mind didn't see it as harmless. It saw it as a doorway. If he opened the phone, the light would wake him more, and the scrolling would pull him deeper, and the morning would punish him. If he didn't open it, his mind would still find something else to worry about. Ethan stared at the screen, turned it face down, and in that tiny act of control, he felt a small gap open inside him, like the noise paused for half a second. He didn't know it yet, but that half second was a door, and he had never tried walking through it. The next day, Ethan mentioned his nights to an older coworker, not dramatically, just casually, like complaining about bad weather. The coworker listened, nodded, and said something Ethan didn't expect. Your mind isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you. The problem is, it's protecting you at the wrong time. Ethan almost rolled his eyes because that sounded like a nice quote, not a solution, but the coworker continued, calm and practical. During the day, you stay busy. You delay your emotions. You avoid small discomforts. So at night, when everything is quiet, your brain thinks, finally, we can deal with this, and it dumps the whole backlog on you. You won't stop it by arguing. You stop it by delaying it. Ethan frowned. Delaying it? The coworker nodded. Yes, you don't debate the thought, you postpone it. You teach your brain a new rule. Night is for rest, not for solving. Here's the 10-second rule, 3 steps. Label. Exhale. 1 sentence. It sounds simple, but it works because it removes the fuel, your attention. That night, Ethan tried it. Not because he believed in magic, but because he was tired of losing to his own mind. He turned off the light and waited, and as always, the first thought arrived like it owned the room. What if tomorrow you mess up again? Ethan felt the familiar urge to chase it, to answer it, to build a plan. But he stopped himself before the spiral could accelerate and did the 3 steps exactly as instructed. First, he labeled it, quietly, without drama. This is overthinking, not this is true, not this is a warning, just a label. Like putting a name tag on a stranger so you stop treating them like a mystery. Second, he exhaled slowly for 6 seconds, 1 long breath out, because a long exhale tells your nervous system, we are not in immediate danger. Third, he used 1 sentence, a sentence so firm and boring that his mind had nothing to argue with. Not now. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. That was it. No fighting, no explaining, no scrolling, just a boundary. The thought tried again, softer this time, like a child pulling your sleeve. But what if? Ethan repeated the steps. Overthinking, 1 long exhale, not now. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., and something shifted, not the world, not his life, but the weight inside his chest. The thought didn't vanish, but it lost power because it wasn't getting a conversation tonight. Ethan noticed something he hadn't felt in weeks, a deeper quiet behind the noise, a silence that had been there all along, waiting for him to stop feeding the fire. The next morning, Ethan woke up and understood the real point. His problems hadn't disappeared. His life hadn't turned perfect overnight. But he had slept. And because he slept, he could think clearly. And because he could think clearly, the problems became smaller, more manageable, less dramatic. At 10 a.m., he sat down with a notebook and gave the worries a proper place in daylight. He wrote them down, chose 1 action, sent 1 message, and moved on. And his brain learned a new pattern. When you handle reality in the day, the night doesn't have to scream. So tonight, when your mind starts talking in bed, don't fight it and don't follow it. Use the 10-second rule. Label, this is overthinking. Exhale 1 slow 6-second breath out. 1 sentence. Not now. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. And if you want the next story in this series, comment 1 word. Sleep.